Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster, and I want to thank you guys for joining me for another 30 Days Reforged replay battle. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while. Actually, hasn't. It's been 2 days. But nonetheless, I've been a little bit infrequent with my posting, and hopefully that's something that I can change, especially over the next few days, as I'm going to be in vacation from the 7th until the 14th. So before I leave, I'm going to make sure that you guys are well supplied with replays. I have a Napoleon Total War replay that's sent in to me by a friend of mine named Von Mountain. I've got a ton of replays from my streams, and yeah, they're all really good, and there's interesting concepts in them, even if all of them aren't that close. But yeah, they're just some really cool battles, so I can't wait to show them off to you. But in any case, let's take a look at some of the army comps here. But before we do that, actually, perhaps we should take a look at the map itself. And this is a map that I made probably in about an hour or so, and it is called the Woods of LORIEN. And you can see there's these evil orcish camps here that dominate one side of the map. This was intended to be part of the tug-of-war event, which has kind of petered out, but I do have some cool replays from that, so I'll show those off and send them to some other people like UMAD and Gondorian Smith, etc., etc. But it's still a pretty cool map, and there's some new elven cities over here. These cities were made by WK, and they are actually available in campaign. And I've incorporated no less than 2 of them, as this is the second position for the Elves of LORIEN as they are pushed further back into their homeland. It makes for a neat map. Lots of terrain, lots of flat areas, lots of forest and places for an ambush, just the way I like my maps. Now that's out of the way, let's take a look here at some of the army compositions, and we will start with my own army, that being the forces of Umbar, who are very much changed in 0.97. A little bit more elite, lost a lot of the Corsair units. However, what they did gain is a Corsair infantry, bow infantry hybrid. I've got a couple of them, I believe about 3 of them in total, and I've given them armor upgrades as well. Over here, got some Belgier footmen. I believe I have 2 units of them in total. A couple units of the Corsair Black Guards. 1 or 2 units, I believe, of the Belgier pikemen. Who are currently kind of bugged, underperforming a little bit just because they have halberd animations instead of pike animations. So hopefully that's something that the guys working on the hotfix will be able to sort out. Got some Narnar Sentinels, just as strong and sexy as they always have been. A couple units there of Corsair crossbows. And Alcarondas Legion, 2 whole companies of them. And then finally, I got 1 unit of cav here, the Warlords of Umbar, and to tie my whole force together, I've got the new and improved Harbingers of Castamere. Very strong, very sexy, and Sin has actually added some little golden highlights here, and it works so well with the unit. Before they were a little bit too dark, I think. You can kind of see the difference here. The officer has the older model, whereas the guys with the swords have the more golden trim. And the unit itself looks really good, but the golden highlights kind of bring out the details, and it's not just one big blob of black. So yeah, it's a nice little addition. Moving on now to my ally. I can't remember who I played with. Yes, Vistwell Ritchie. Someone who is, I think, new to the community. Someone I haven't played with a ton, but I have played against him, and you'll see him in some other replays, and he's actually surprisingly good. Usually going into random games with people I've never played with before, I kind of keep my expectations fairly reasonable for people. But yeah, he's really good. Good handle on the meta, good handle on strategy generally, so I'm sure it'll be a good show for you today. He's got some Gondor archers, Citadel Guard, Fountain Guard, Veterans of Osgiliath, a couple of units of upgraded Gondor infantry. Got the new and improved Guards of Osgiliath as well. Gonna form the center of his line. A couple of Pelargir Marines. Let's see, more Gondor infantry, some Pit of the Galen cavalry. I think he's got a Mithrandir's bodyguard as well. Indeed, he does. Altogether, a nicely rounded Gondor army. I think he may also have some marksmen of Karen, or else I could be wrong. He might have a little bit more of a bow corps. Now he's got more into his heavy infantry, it would appear. Over here we have Dorwinion, being played by their creator, Sin of the Dark Cloud. He's brought some Nandor Glade Riders, a really interesting unit, very glass cannon. They've got a huge charge bonus, but they're very, very fragile to bows, almost any kind of bow, and especially bow cavalry can really be a menace to these guys. That being said, when they connect, they hit hard, and it's very satisfying. Sin's also brought some Elvelyn as his core, Elvelyn infantry here. More Quindi Glade Masters to tie the whole shebang together, Elvelyn Vine Guard, probably a couple companies of them there. More Quindi Glade Lords, not to be confused with Glade Masters, because, you know, those aren't synonyms or anything. And that's an Elven Knight unit, very strong. Here we've got Elvelyn Infantry, more Elvelyn Infantry, Some marksmen out in front, probably a second company, or maybe even a third company of marksmen. Nope, Keldwyn River Patrol, hiding in here as well. And then 2 companies of Keldwyn River Patrol. I'm really liking the new flags. I mean, they do kind of get in the way when you're taking screenshots when you're playing the game, but like it does show you very clearly at a glance where your army is. So yeah, I'm a big fan. Got some more Quindy Stalkers here, more Landor Glade Riders, and I think that's it, unless he's got some more Quindy Stalkers. No, indeed. Moving on over this way, we have the army of Mirkwood. We've got some Bows of Emondweir, which is their, I want to say low tier, but Elven low tier compared to other people is really more like high tier, mid tier. Here Youth with their new reskins here, which I actually did. Yeah, proud to show these off. You can see there's a little bit more like silver detail if you kind of take a look at the helmets and the shoulder pads, and they've gone from the red to more of like a, it's almost like a, what's the color I'm looking for? Maroon, almost hardwood floor color, I guess. Kind of does put the accents on the fact that it's made of wood. Got some Hiripeng, Hirenek, all of them without their armor upgrades as well. Elven King's Palace Guard. Got the Ents. The Ents are going to be here today. Is that 2 units of Ents? No way. Oh, of course not. Woodland Realm Patrol. Got Bows of Emondweir. Oh, the Bows of Emondweir. Oh, that's the mounted archer. Well, the names have changed so many times, honestly. I'm confused at this point. Woodland Realm Patrol, however, is the archer unit that I spoke about earlier. Second company over there. Elders of the Elven King. Really strong general units. Cause Fear. A little bit of extra morale boost for Mirkwood as well. Elven King's Palace Guard give a big boost to morale, so that's very useful for Mirkwood given their limited numbers. But I think that's going to do it for our team. Let's go ahead and see what the red team is bringing to the battle today. So right across the way from Mirkwood, we're actually going to have LORIEN. And LORIEN is very much improved in 0.97. Their new missile units are just so amazingly strong. They really tie the faction together and give them like a very clear strength, whereas before they were kind of lukewarm hodgepodge of both the High Elves and Mirkwood. Now they have their own more distinct identity. And we've also got some reskins here too. And I think I implemented these reskins, but they were done by Taurion of Lindon. Also, Castellan of Angmar, if you guys are frequent the DAC or the Reforged Discord, you'll be able to pick them out. So make sure you give him a high five for the excellent work he's done here. I really just found them and implemented them. But yeah, we got some Riders of the Golden Wood, Lorenon Mounted Company. What else does Lorien have? A couple units of Lorenon Archers, Lorenon Spearmen. Got some more Lorenon Mounted Company here. And then the real bulk, whoop, got some lag there. The real bulk of their force is over out this direction. 2 units of Marsh Wardens of the Wood with their poison arrows. Spears of the Wood. In behind them, we got some Kindred of Celeborn, so we got the split shot on the field today. Elder Council. Two companies, in fact, of the Elder Council. And that's all that I can see for now. That's actually interesting. Lorien is a little bit outgunned. They're not, you know, hopelessly outmatched, but Mirkwood has actually brought a very skirmish-heavy army. So we're going to have a bit of a battle of the 2 ranged titans here. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. It's really going to come down to maneuvering and very careful application of pressure. I think that Mirkwood has the numbers to overwhelm their Lothlorien equivalents with only 4, maybe 5 archers here, plus the mounted bowmen. Whereas Mirkwood, I believe, has 2 heavy archers, 2 light archers, a archer bodyguard, and then 2 companies of the mounted bowmen, and then of course they've got Sin's stalkers nearby as well, so that's another 2 companies of horse archers. That might be tough for Lothlorien, especially if Sin decides to help out his ally and they gang up on them. He might just be spread a little bit too thin. But in any case, moving on now to his ally, we have Rudour being commanded by Mr. Sneakman. He's brought some Herenni nobles. I can't quite tell if they have their armor upgrade or not. I think they might. Ooh, indeed they do from the looks of them. Oh, wow, they actually ended up implementing that. I wasn't sure that they would or not. But it appears that they do have an armor upgrade model now, which is perfect. Dunman Scouts. 2 companies of the Dunman Scouts. Got some Coldfell Maidens here as well. In the back, we've got the Witch Realm Enslavers, which will hopefully be getting a new model very soon. No General's Bodyguard in there, so they're just a purely offensive unit that the Rudour player can use a little bit more aggressively without any fear of losing their general. Dunman Hunters, at least 1 company of Dunman Hunters. Got some Rudour Swordsmen here, 3 companies of them. Dunman Pikemen, and they're backed up with a bunch of Rudour Clansmen, so it's a really nice front line. I'm really liking the diversity of the armies. Every battle, I feel like there's something different and something new, some new strategy at play, so that's pretty cool. And then this is a real treat. We actually have UMAD Commander in this battle. He's going to be commanding the Haradrim today. Oof, bit of lag. And he's got a bunch of Haradrim fodder spearmen here on his front line, some Haradrim archers as well. You can see Cowering Koma's new reskins there, on which he did a fabulous job. It's a much needed facelift for the Harad faction, which was looking a little bit dated. Southron Warband mixed in here. Ooh, the lag is real. Southron Warband mixed in here with some Southron Pikes. And he's got some Trollmen of Harad, really the pride of the Haradrim infantry force. And today, the Mumakil. Mumakil will be on the field. I know that he's got some Demons of the Desert, and there they are. 2 Muhad Beast Hunters, Champions of Nafarat, and then some of the Serpent Guard. Serpent Guard are actually a very impressive unit. I've used them in a couple of battles since the release of 0.97, and I have never ceased to be impressed with how well this unit can hold up, even against Numenorian infantry. The dismounted Serpent Guard with their 12 melee defense and 10 attack, 12 if you upgrade them, are such a solid unit. The only thing that they really lack is armor. I think they cap out at 7. You can upgrade their armor so that they have 9. And then they've got a really small shield value of about 5. So, more specialized in melee expertise, but damn are the Serpent Guard awesome. And then another block of Southron Pikemen and the Southron Warband here as well. So that's a lot of AP. Pretty scary. Especially against the Gondor army, UMAD Commander's definitely chosen his army well. Let's move on now to the 4th and final Red Team army. We have Cardolan being commanded by Captain Gervais. He's brought 1 company of the Mercenary Crossbowmen. Oh, the lag, though. 1 company of the Royal Court of House the Rondor. 1 unit of the Minhirieth. Oh, no, he's probably got more than 1. A few units of the Minhirieth Men-at-Arms. I think from memory it was about 3, maybe 2. Greenway Garrison Spearmen, which I'm super happy to present to you because I actually worked on making this, and I borrowed some bits from other models, and I put some things together that were like thematically, I think, appropriate for Cardolan. So I can't really take a ton of credit here, but I think they look good, and they are a little bit more Numenorian, a little bit more fitting for a faction like Cardolan, while still not being, at least I hope, too professional looking for a militia unit. Wardens of Tirn Gorthod, sexy unit, which I find myself bringing all the time as Cardolan. They just help tie your pipeline together, and you can do other things with your Inspire units. And it just gives you options and helps stabilize your front line. Minhirieth Archers, got some Minotaur Roman Guardians, Minhirieth Sharpshooters, a bunch of the Greenway Garrison Footmen. I got more of the Garrison Spearmen here, some Minhirieth Men-at-Arms. I think there's a 2nd company of crossbows around here somewhere. Yes, there are 2 of them. What else has he got? Oh, he's got a catapult. What do you know? And some Dunedain captains, although they do not have their armor upgrade today. And that's just about going to do it for the army comps. Let's go ahead and jump into this battle. So this is one of those battles that I did on stream, and I was planning to be a little bit aggressive. That's why a lot of my skirmishers are more mid-range or shorter, not exactly long range. The Corsair Crossbowmen, you got to get pretty close and expose them to shoot. And my bowmen are pretty limited to just my Corsair infantry. I want it to be a little bit more aggressive, but it's actually going to be fairly slow going. Partially because Cardolan deployed in the back there, but also because Cardolan's deployment in the end is actually pretty smart. It's not necessarily something that I want to walk right into the jaws of. So we're going to get to focus on other sides of the battle for the time being, and Gondor and Harad are going to be very, very close to one another. UMAD Commander has, I think, wisely deployed inside the city, and it is going to give him some options. So he can funnel Gondor if Gondor is inclined to attack him and to go all out, although Vistula Ritchie is not really the kind of player, at least from what I've seen of him, to take those kinds of exorbitant risks. But UMAD Commander's got a nice deployment here in the center, and he's got some options to be a little bit aggressive. Not a lot of cavalry, however, so his fast movers are fairly limited, but in the center, this is going to be where the real party is. So immediately, Sin of the Darkcloud is going to open up with the Elvelyn marksmen, and they're going to just scythe through these barbarians from the north. Sin is well situated because of the small hills that he's got over there to get him a little bit of an extra range advantage, and now he's going to begin to pepper down the lightly armored Dunman pikemen, who are extremely vulnerable to this kind of thing. It would probably be better for Mr. Sneakman to move these units backwards and maybe move the Rudauer swordsmen forwards. because all of these units have fairly substantial shield values, and they'll be able to stand up to that arrow fire a little bit better. So yeah, he's going to start to move his gunmen pikemen back, and that's fairly important. Over in the back here, it looks like maybe the red team is assembling for an assault in the center. So we've got Mumakil here backed up by a plethora of cavalry and some really strong heavy infantry. So hopefully the red players will move forward and try and use that overwhelming force, because that would just be exciting. Meanwhile, over here, Mirkwood and Lothlorien maneuvering around a little bit, but Mirkwood is inclined to sit back, and that's exactly what their army composition was tailored to do, so you can't really fault them for that. Oh, what do you know, another unit here, Wardens of Amon-Lank, a little bit less ammunition. I think they've only got about 10? No, it can't be that high. I think it's a bit lower. It might be like 8. They've got a special projectile that does affect morale, so Mirkwood does have access to some special projectiles at the very least to represent their expertise at range. But it's very limited, and this unit has been tailed more to be a melee unit and some means of some powerful but expensive armor piercing, which is something that Mirkwood doesn't exactly have available to them in spades. And then throughout the rest of the map here, it seems like everyone is just playing it a little bit safe, and a lot of these armies, well, it's smart. 0.97, you got to be careful with how you fight people. If you walk into like the jaws of a terrifying army and take a ton of casualties quickly, your army will rout. Even if you're the well-trained Elvelyn warriors of Dorwinion, it is very much possible for you to lose your army if you're careless with it. So I think that's probably why we're being a little bit more cautious here, and honestly, it's good. There's a lot of powerful rush builds in 0.97, so it's nice to see people sit back and take this more cautious and measured approach to warfare. Ooh, and this is where I realize I get really lucky here. Look at this. That catapult didn't hit a single person. And I'm like, oh, maybe I don't really want to sit here and take a catapult to the face. So seeing how, and this is some of the intelligent deployment that I mentioned earlier, seeing how Cardolin, oh, they got rangers too, is taking position up here on this hill, Cardolin wants me to come into this pass, and there's not really a lot of room for me to maneuver. Cardolin's got way more pikes than I do, and they've got some units that are just absolutely devastating in a choke, including the rangers and the crossbows that they have up there, and their catapult, and of course their crossbow units. So I don't want to go anywhere near this area. I want to try and pull Cardolin into me, if at all possible. And something maybe you didn't notice, that shot from the catapult right into the center of my army, it didn't hit a single thing. So I got really lucky here with Neo Matrix dodging those catapult shots. So I don't think I've quite lost anything yet, which is really nice. But yeah, from this point on, my strategy is going to be to draw Cardolin out into the hills here, and if Cardolin wants to sit back, then I'm free to reinforce my allies in their assaults, and it will essentially become a 4v3 in the center and farther here over on the red team's left wing. So that's nice for us, something we can use to our advantage. Lothlorien moving forward, trying to take advantage of the hill. Some Nandor Glade Guard, who I didn't even know existed in this battle. Charging forward, completely fearless, but they have just gotten massacred. And Rudauer is trying to take bites here out of Porsten the Dark Cloud. He's probably feeling a little bit ganged up upon, and that's because, well, he is being ganged up upon. So it's going to be down to Mirkwood here to help out their ally, try and relieve some of the pressure, and yeah, prevent Sin of the Dark Cloud from taking some fairly disastrous casualties. So Sin of the Dark Cloud, seeing that this terrain here, not to his advantage, especially not with Lorien situated up there on that hill, and the advantage it's going to give to their marksman, Sin of the Dark Cloud decides that he's going to pull back, which is sometimes, that's just what you got to do. You have to pull back. Meanwhile, over here, I'm running my army across, doing exactly what Sin is doing. I'm going to try and take position alongside Gondor, and we're going to begin to press UMAT Commander's position, because while Cardolin has a very scary army, they're so far removed from the rest of their allies that we honestly can't not take this opportunity. It just screams gang up on my teammates when you deploy this far away. So that's exactly what we're going to do. What do we got here? Actually, we have some bandits, an interesting little unit. They got a couple of javelin volleys, but they also have a new trait that adds a little bit of flavor to shock units. So rather than being a pure missile unit, units like the bandits and like the blackguard that I've actually brought in this battle are, pardon me, kind of like a shock unit. So they'll toss a javelin before they charge themselves into melee. So it adds like a nice little 1-2 punch. You get the javelin volley, and then you get about 9 or 10 damage, I believe, from the banditos, which makes them a little bit more generally useful outside of the forest. Pardon me. And so my army has reached its destination for the most part, but for whatever reason, Captain Gervais sent a unit of Green Watch garrison footmen out here in front of my army, and so I'm going to pepper them down with crossbows. Gondor's going to go after them with some Citadel Guard. We're just going to try and whittle down this this lonely and isolated unit without taking any casualties, any unneeded casualties at the very least. Nice rear charge here from the Citadel Guard, catching the Green White garrison footmen out of position. I think I might pop off rather, 1 or so more volleys. I don't want to use too much of my crossbow ammo on a unit like this. They've already taken some pretty catastrophic losses on this ill-fated venture out in front of my front lines. Cardinal now beginning to move forward with much of their army, but I'm just going to continue to pull back and try and use these hills to my advantage, especially to mitigate the damage that catapult can do to me. Meanwhile, over on the other side, Coldfell Maidens, March Wardens of the Woods, facing off against the Ents of all things. Looks like the Ents launched a lightning strike into the front of Lothlorien's army. And there's a lot of dead troops here, though I think most of that belongs to Dorwinion. There's some dead Watchers of the Goldenwood as well. This is looking pretty ugly. The Hiri Peng taking some pretty serious losses from the March Wardens, who are just relentlessly firing into them. And the Hiri Peng are good, don't get me wrong. And they can take March Wardens, I think, in a skirmish fight 1-to-1. But there's actually 2 units here of the March Wardens. Oop. And they've got armor upgrades, and they're just going to continuously fire in to this one isolated unit of Hiri Peng. I'm actually going to catch another one here in that crossfire as well. And so far, just a bit of a skirmish fight. Nawaki, who's commanding Mirkwood today, not exactly deploying his troops in the smartest way. He's going to take a lot of damage here, exposing his flank to those March Wardens, and they're going to have some easy enfilading fire. And without the armor upgrade, the Hiri Peng only have about 6 armor. That is not enough to stop Elven arrows, not by a long shot. We got going on over here. Cardolin's still moving their way around, and I'm going to continuously maneuver out of Cardolin's reach and trying to use, again, as I mentioned, these hills to my advantage. One big thing that I have going for me right now is that I've got this gigantic hill right here that I can put between me and that catapult to block its line of fire. Over here, Sin of the Dark Cloud is now moving forward, ready to take the fight to Rudour. Rudour's going to be pulling back, doing a little bit of reforming here. Mr. Sneakman is probably reacting to the menace of Gondor. You can see the Gondorians have moved forward, and now Vistual Ritchie is going to begin to pressure Harad. And there's no pikes here on these front lines, so the Harad from Spearmen are going to be easy prey for the Gondor units and the Guards of Osgiliath. This is going to be a tough fight for UMAT Commander. He does need to get some reinforcements over here as quickly as possible, and he's already in the process of doing that. Got some Trollmen of Harad, some Serpent Guard, and this is exactly what the Doctor ordered. The Mahud Beast Hunters are going to really even the fight out against the Gondorian pikes and the Fountain Guard and all of that nasty stuff that's coming his way. Let's see what these guys take a volley at. Gondor Infantry not exactly having a lot of fun here. And now that the Trollmen of Harad have moved in, the Gondor Infantry feeling the pressure a little bit. Luckily, pikes and other reinforcements are on the way. Pelargia Marines now in position. Ooh, but Rudour is here. Rudour is here to potentially break the wing of Gondor, though he's not entirely unprepared. He definitely saw this coming. He's got a unit here of Gondor Infantry to throw under the bus if needs be. Over on this side, I've brought forward my Corsair Archers, and I was starting to pressure the front line here of UMAT Commander. I don't want to go anywhere near this choke point. Not a chance. Not with Mahud Beast Hunters here, not with nearby Cardolan reinforcements. And very wisely, I think Captain Gervais has sent some troops around to reinforce UMAT Commander's position, and they are certainly going to be a welcome sight. Let's see. Moving in with my Corsair Infantry, and I think we're getting peppered down by the Dunedain Rangers, who are going to take an absolutely massive bite out of my Corsair infantry. They're going to be firing directly into their back. Luckily, I've got them in loose formation, so they're going to be able to mitigate that damage somewhat, but still, pretty nasty and great positional play there from the Cardinal player. Got my Warlords of Umbar out, trying to find something useful to do with them. So I am actually going to send this powerful knight unit towards my ally here. And you, my commander, is really, really hard pressed. The Southron Pikes not doing well against this Gondorian line. The Gondorians just have more quality than Harad does. Haradrim just have sheer berserker, terrifying strength and really high attack values. And certainly over here, where the champions of Nafarad are present, Gondor is going to be having a hard time. The Fountain Guard definitely going to be hard pressed here, but this is a pretty good matchup, I think, for those Haradrim units. Some Pelargir Marines trying to put pressure onto the back lines, go after the Mahud Beast Hunters. Some Gondor infantry was able to get around the flank, but they are being heavily reduced by, I presume, not catapult volleys, but the javelin volleys. All in all, Gondor is doing well against Harad. It's an evenly matched fight, but it could turn around at any time. And certainly now, with Rudaur coming forward in support of UMAD Commander, the Citadel Guard here not going to be having a great time. Some Gondor infantry over here are able to hold off the Dunman Pikemen, surprisingly enough. But up here, Anthillian Rangers, something I didn't even see, and this is why this is going so well for the Gondorian player. But it looks like Rudaur has kind of seen what's going on here, and they're beginning to put some pressure onto the Anthillian Rangers, who are very exposed up here on the top of this hill, and they've lost nearly half of their unit to that counterplay. Over here, Sin of the Darklight has moved in with his Alvelin units, and they're going to be more than a match for much of this Rudaur army. With their high defensive values, they're able to just soak damage so well, and backed up with the Morquendi Glade Masters. It's not going to be a fun fight here for Rudaur. Sin of the Dark Cloud is certainly pressing Sneakman very hard. This Sneakman with his numerous cavalry is going to be able to keep Sin of the Dark Cloud on his toes. Here we got some Morquendi Stalkers looking like they're out of ammunition, trying to go after the Rudaur Knights. And there's enough of them here. They could overwhelm them. Ooh, definitely overwhelming force being brought to bear here against the Harenai Nobles. But UMAD Commander is nearby with his Mumikel supporting, and they're going to reap a pretty serious toll among the ranks of the Nandor units with their low armor and zero shield value. Over here, Lothlorien versus Mirkwood. It looks like Mirkwood's superior infantry that they brought in this game, plus the Ents, is starting to get the better of Lothlorien, and Lothlorien's going to need to commit something over on their wing here to try and keep things stable. And what do we have? Some Galathrim Blade Masters, a second company of them here, moving against the Ents. And there goes their Rotom General. UMAD's Commander's General was just slain by a nice rear charge from the Gondorian player. Meanwhile, over here, it seems like the Lorenan Spearmen are actually beating down the Hidealtha. That says that victory is assured for both sides, so I don't know how I feel about that. That being said, Milwaukee does have a pretty distinct advantage here, in that he is able to lay down some enfilading fire with his mounted bows. Lorenan Archers, however, are going to have something to say about that, and they're firing back at those mounted bowmen. And it's not going to be all Mirkwood's way in this battle. Now Lothlorien is going to be able to leverage their superior missile units against Mirkwood, kindred against Mirkwood. Wardens of Amon Lank moving forward, but they are taking heavy losses on the approach. There's still some supporting Mirkwood units here, but they are all looking very ragged. We know who the king of the ranged game is now, and it is not exactly Mirkwood. Mirkwood's strengths tend to lie elsewhere. Let's see what we got going on over here. So something that we missed was that I brought my cavalry over this hill, took a bite, I believe, out of one of the Minhidiath swordsman units. And now Cardalin is trying to get themselves into position on this hill where they can pressure my lines, and slowly but surely he's getting his army into a place where he wants it to be. And up here with the catapult, good use of terrain. It does give him a fairly clear shot onto my front line, although not so much if I decide to move forward, which is exactly what I'm going to do in just a few moments. Minhidiath sharpshooters here, flying far too close to the sun. I'm going to use my Warlords of Umbar to make Captain Gervais pay for this positioning mistake. They're going to charge forward. Let's turn up the speed there just a little bit and get a devastating frontal charge into this isolated column of Minhidiath sharpshooters. And this is a great win for me. I absolutely wanted to try and take bites out of Cardalin and to to pressure them and to really keep them on the defensive and just keep them contained. And so far we've been able to do that. Although I think Cardolin managed to scoop by with some of their cavalry, so we might have seen them at some point behind enemy lines. But popping over to the center, Mirkwood's doing well against Lothlorien. Lothlorien's slowly starting to lose his infantry fight, but it's an ugly affair on both sides. Another kinslaying. Nobody really wins when the elves slaughter each other. Some much-needed reserve units have been brought up against the Elder Council and the rest of the Lothlorien infantry that's been committed to the line so far. And it's not looking good for Lothlorien. They are still able to leverage their missile units thanks to some excellent positioning up here on the hill. They have some reinforcements in the form of the Elder Council, who are looking like they still got some ammo here. So if they're able to throw down some javelin volleys here, that could be pretty significant, and indeed, they are going to try. Close-range javelin volleys don't make anybody happy. And the Galathran Blade Masters are going to hold the line and give these guys the opportunity that they need. They're winding up for a volley. Let's see what they go after. Sin of the Dark Cloud's cavalry, which is charging into the supporting Lothlorien units, just disrupting them enough for Mirkwood to continue to pull back that fight and to gain an advantage against Lothlorien. More Quindy Glade Lords being brought to bear against Dunman's scouts. That is going to be a massacre. That's going to be an ugly massacre. I won't even show that to you because I feel like I'll get demonetized. Over here, Rudauer doing pretty well, though. They've cleaned up most of Sin of the Dark Cloud's infantry with sheer numbers and ferocity. And Sin of the Dark Cloud's army in the center is just looking really ragged. Thanks to a little bit of help as well from Cardolin, who's brought some mercenary bowmen to bear, along with a unit here of the Royal Court of the House of the Rondor. Both very healthy units and well placed to make a big difference in that battle. Over here, we got some Greenway Garrison Spearmen who have been brought forward. And at this point, I've taken some mild losses, I think, from the catapult. We might see some burnt bodies here. So I decided to move forward and use this hill for protection. And I don't want to move against Cardolin for the same reason I didn't really want to move against them earlier. They've got some nasty units and some great positioning up there on that hill. So if I potentially move forward, I might be walking into a massacre. So I'm just going to be content to contain Cardolin for the time being and continue to defeat parts of their army piecemeal, the way I'm doing right now with these Greenway Garrison Spearmen and the pikemen earlier, and then of course the slaughterhouse with the sharpshooters earlier. You can see the results of that as they fled across the hill. I think this is the unit. Yeah, they dropped from 120 to like 90, so that's about a quarter of the unit that got cut down by my knights. Meanwhile, over here, my commander is really struggling. He's managed to get some reinforcements that he pulled out of the city in behind Gondor's lines, and they will overwhelm these guards of Osgiliath plus the Gondor infantry given time. But I've also moved forward with some of my supporting units. Got some Corsair infantry here in behind my commander's lines, and it's been kind of a massacre so far. Gondor is ascendant. They've punched through the Númenóreans. The Mumakil did not fare well at all. Got themselves caught in the Pelorgri Marines, who I presume got a volley off. And now it's down to Rudauer to try and contain Gondor and to inflict some serious casualties on them. Over here, Citadel Guard completely surrounded, being overwhelmed, and we're going to start to see some breaking here from the Gondorian infantry, and I'm sure that the Citadel Guard will be soon to follow. Ooh, some javelin volleys. That's coming in from Gondor, of course. Over here, the Athelian Rangers really giving Rudauer what for. The Black Wolves a little bit less susceptible because of their horde spacing, but still, it's a lot of damage that will be done to these units. They have almost no armor, 0 defense, even against the lower damage of Ranger missiles. Withrander's retinue bodyguard now behind the lines, and I've brought some of my reinforcements to bear here as well against Rudauer, and the Dunman Hunters are very much in danger of being overwhelmed. Of course, their infantry and some out-of-ammunition Pelorgri Marines being used as lower-end mid-tier infantry, and Rudauer Clansmen are going to receive, Rudauer Clansmen and the Dunman Hunters and the Pikes are going to receive a devastating charge here, which might just rout this entire pocket of Rudauer resistance. Well, the Dunman Hunters are holding on, and they are going to rout shortly thereafter, and much of Rudauer's forces on this end are going to flee in the face of these units. Big charge here from the Black Wolves, from my cavalry into the Rudauer swordsmen. Excellent flank charge there, going to cut down their numbers. I'm going to pull my units out of there and continuously pick away at the red team's forces. Over here, some Gondorian archers have been thrown in to contain this threat. Southron pikemen and Southron warband are ascendant. They have massacred these Gondorian units. Guards of Osgiliath now breaking. But it came at a heavy cost. I mean, UMAC Commander doesn't really have a lot of units left. You can see the missiles here have really taken their toll. And yeah, most of his army has been destroyed at this point. Rudauer is bringing everything they got against Gondor, and Gondor is doing the same. And Rudauer might just hold their own here for a while, but I am bringing in some reinforcements. Got my Corsair infantry in there as well, and they're pretty able-bodied mid-tier infantry. Gondor moving forward with more reinforcements. Rudauer has only just begun to fight, and yet more rear charges coming in from that Mithrandir's retinue bodyguard. And it's going to hurt. This is going to take a toll over time. And while the Black Wolves are not susceptible to breaking, much of the other Rudauer infantry units are. Witch Realm Enslavers unfortunately caught on the Mumakil. This is something you need to be cognizant of when there are units like Mumakil on the field. You can run into problems like that. And over here, how are things going? It seems like Lothlorien is being cleaned up at this point. Mirkwood has broken through. It's been a bit of a massacre for both sides. Kindred of Celeborn engaged in combat against the Elders of the Elven King, and the Elders of the Elven King have this in the bag. Wardens of Amon Lank down to 13. Much of Mirkwood's infantry has been heavily depleted, but they still have some really strong elites, like the Elven King's Palace Guard and the, what are they called? Elders of the Elven King. Meanwhile, over here, there is still some Lothlorien infantry facing off against more Mirkwood heavy infantry, and this one unit of Lorenon Spearmen has just held the line so well. I'm pretty sure that they defeated some Mirkwood cavalry, and they've defeated the Mirkwood equivalent to this unit, the Hiranek. And now they're facing off against the Hiri Peng, and they're doing well. Elven Spearmen are really nothing to sneeze at. Those of them endure fairly depleted. It's not looking good here for Lothlorien. And over here, the Cardolin units are being chased out of position. Who knows what kind of shenanigans the Royal Court of House Thorondor got up to. Unfortunately, I didn't see it. But I am going to chase them out of position with my Warlords of Umbar. And then, of course, there's the Ents over here who are trying to chase down at least the mercenary crossbowmen. Yeah, these are the things that we want to be worried about. Meanwhile, over on this side, Cardolin, I think, has realized that attacking me on my terms maybe won't go well for them because of the losses that they suffered from their piecemeal attacks, which was not a great idea. But as I understand it, Captain Gervais was maybe having some troubles with pathfinding or something like that. But Cardolin is now going to take their army, and they're going to swing wide around here, which probably wasn't a great idea. I know it's not exactly the ideal position to fight me over on this hill, but of course he would have an uphill advantage against me, and it would give him a clear path to try and help out his allies if at all possible. And I was just peeling off more and more of my forces to go and help my allies and help support Gondor versus what remains of UMAC Commander's Haradrim army, and of course the Rudauer forces of Sneakman. So Cardolin had to do something, but I think that going against understrength force here with the hill advantage was probably a better idea than wasting a lot of time going wide around this settlement. It wastes fatigue, which a lot of Cardolin units, especially their frontline units, like their Greenway units, don't have. They have a limited amount of fatigue. They don't have a fatigue trait because they are considered to be militia. So trips like this, like big hiking trips, they will be exhausted and they will stay exhausted. And that has some pretty serious implications for their effectiveness on the battlefield. And they're already a militia unit, so you don't really want to tire out your units as Cardolin if you can help it. So decisive action, I think, was needed here, not more delays. And Cardolin is really going to pay for that later. Mithrandir's retinue bodyguard, hunting down what remains of the Haradrim, but there's not much. There's like one champion of Nafarat unit here, some demons of the desert, which took heavy casualties from my Corsair units. I actually used all of my ammunition on them, and you can see them. I think it was right here. Yeah, you can see a lot of the demons of the desert fell right over here. Yep, there they are. And then they ended up being shut down by some Corsair infantry, which prevented them from firing. Trollshot axe throwers going at it with my my Corsair infantry. But so far, we've really kind of had it all our own way with the red team. And part of that, actually, a big part of that, is that Cardolin was able to be kept out of the fight for such a long time. So you don't necessarily have to always be on the attack and microing units and doing damage in order to do something useful. Sometimes just keeping your enemy contained and preventing them from assisting their allies and lending strategic, well-placed support to your own allies is enough to win the day. And you've probably guessed at this point that, yeah, we are definitely going to be winning this fight. 69 to 76, but I've got a lot of allies left, and Cardolin's got an exhausted force, and my army is mostly fresh. What do we got going on over here? I think there's some blackguards somewhere. There are swordsmen. Not a lot left from Rudauer. Sin still using his cavalry to great effect, cutting down what remains of Rudauer's reinforcements. Got to hand it to Rudauer, though. They fought a lot of people today, and it really is a testament to the ferocity of a Rudauer army that they can just keep trucking, even fighting against multiple opponents. Well, that's probably going to be the end of LORIEN. Let's take a quick peek over here. They did well. A lot of dead LORIEN units on the field, but they also took a lot of that Mirkwood infantry with them, and a lot of Mirkwood's archer corps as well. And they did that when Mirkwood was getting support from Dorwinion. So this might have been a different battle if Sin was more focused elsewhere, but yeah, you got to hand it to LORIEN. They put up a great fight. Oh, did the spearmen die? We missed their last stand. You can see a lot of dead Mirkwood troops lying face down on the ground here. Now Mirkwood is shifting over with what remains of their army, most of it exhausted and depleted, to try and finish off Rudauer, and then so all of us can come together against Cardolin and present a united front. Another nice charge here by the Morroquindian Glade Lords, going to break what small resistance remains from Rudauer. I think there might be some enslavers somewhere. Yeah, there's 38 enslavers. That was definitely a scary thing, but I'm bringing in my Corsair Blackguards, and I think we're going to see the trait in action, so let's go ahead and kick it up to full speed here. Oh, no, I already had them use their trait. So they're going to then charge into battle against the Witch Realm enslavers. And it's gonna be rough going. The Blackguards are going to take fairly heavy casualties here, but against the depleted and tired Witch Realm enslavers, they're not going to do too poorly. You can already see the enslavers beginning to drop. They've been in the thick of things for quite a long time. Normally this isn't how well Blackguard are going to do against an elite unit like the enslavers, but the enslavers have been through a lot. What do we got here? I think I might be trying to maneuver onto the wing to lay some enfilading fire into the enslavers, but my allies are just charging into them with cavalry, so it ends up not being something that's necessary. And those Rudauer units are beginning to fall apart. Meanwhile, Cardolin trying to get into the city, and that's going to be Cardolin's big goal here, is getting their forces into the city and trying to batten the hatches and use these choke points to their advantage. That being said, that's going to be tough. I've got a fresh army. They are going to be exhausted from the march, and they are, of course, under strength because I managed to inflict some small defeats on them over on our end when we had our little showdown. So now I'm bringing my entire, well, most of my army. The main thrust of my army is actually going to move over here. I can't remember exactly what I was thinking when I did this. Oh, I remember now. I didn't want to march through here because I would get a lot of my units caught on the Mumakil, and that was something that I desperately wanted to avoid, so I ended up going the long way around because of the barrier that the Mumakil present. But I do have elements of my army over this way. My Corsair Blackguards are here. I got some Beliar Footmen, and I've got some Crossbow Corsairs as well, which is everything I think I need in order to keep Cardolin occupied long enough for me to bring my main body of troops over to the assistance of my allies and my expeditionary force. Let's go ahead, fast forward things just a little bit. It's mostly a lot of maneuvering at this point. My Beliar units forming up alongside the remnants of Gondor's army, which is really looking worse for wear. Mirkwood is going to be here as well with some small elven units and some not so small numbers of Elven King's Palace Guard. Got the Elders of the Elven King here as well, and some Wardens of Amon-like. But that's really it from Mirkwood. Like, LORIEN really gave it to them. Oh, there's maybe some more Mirkwood units over here. Some exhausted 24 Hirdi Peng. But it's a handful. It's a handful compared to what they had. And I can see what Cardinal is doing. They're going for this defensive position in here inside of the city, and I want to deny them that at all costs. So I'm going to move forward with my Blackguard, let them pop off a quick javelin volley, and thin out the Greenwatch Garrison footmen. Due to 9 captains moving forward. Ooh, my Bellegarde footmen not having a great time here. Let's go ahead and turn things down just a little bit. And those Greenwatch Garrison spearmen or footmen, I guess they're called. They're actually suffering pretty heavily. I managed to catch them in a bit of a disadvantage here, and I softened them up. But now that this long-term fight is starting to set in, my Corsair Blackguards are finding themselves outmatched against the superior range of these units. Bellegarde footmen here very much in danger of routing. Corsair Blackguards on the other end, a little bit more evenly matched with the Greenway Garrison footmen. I think some of the sharpshooters are in here as well, and a small number of pikes in addition to. My Blackguards are doing well. They have high melee defense, good attack, a little bit of shield value. Mirkwood is coming to lend them some aid, so it should be all right. They at least will be able to hold long enough for my allies and the rest of my troops to get into position. Got some remaining Corsair infantry that I'm going to throw in here, and I think I've got some extra companies as well. So my reinforcements are beginning to trickle in, and I've placed my Corsair crossbowmen on a slight hill so that they get some, so they have a good line of sight. But they are still able to get a range advantage from being up on that hill. Over here, a nice charge by the Mithrandir's retinue bodyguard into the bandits, who are unsupported and exhausted, is going to cause them to break practically immediately. So excellent job there on the part of Son of the Dark Cloud, using his cavalry along with sides. I keep forgetting his name. Richie's Gondorian cavalry to shut down a pretty big threat to my army. So hats off to them for that. I didn't even notice that, I don't think, in the original battle. Captains are now rallying what remains of the army, and I'm throwing in some more reinforcements, but I need the main body of my troops because my Blackguard are just not cutting it. Over here, they're doing well. They've cut their way through a lot of these Cardinal forces, and I think there's actually some breaking here with the Menhiriath men-at-arms. But it's not going to be enough to defeat the Cardinal army. But thankfully, the rest of my army has now arrived in position. And I've got some nasty things here, like crossbow Corsairs and Bellegarde footmen to defend them, that are taking a serious toll on a lot of Cardolin's remaining elites. So I managed to sneak up on the Minotaur Roman Guardians with my crossbows, pop off a volley or two, and they're really, really suffering. And the Minotaur Roman Guardians are unfortunately going against my Bellegarde footmen, who I can absolutely afford to lose more than the Cardinal player can afford to lose his crossbow Corsairs, or his I keep forgetting their name. They're Minotaur Roman Guardian crossbows. Lined up for another volley here. Beautiful shot into the Minotaur Roman Guardians. Gotta cut down more of them. You can see that they've just really suffered here along with the Wardens of Tyr and Gorthod. And I don't think Cardinal is going to be able to hold this position for very long. Luckily, my allies and I managed to catch them before they could fully move into the township. And now they're holding well, at least. Elven King's Paladin's Guard here not having a great time with the Greenway Garrison Spearmen. And Cardinal has actually broken my forces in the center, so things are looking decent for them. Hidi Peng over this way, fighting against the Menhiriath archers, and they are winning. But with these Cardinal reinforcements unaided, they won't do well. Ooh, my Corsair Blackguard actually managed to break some of those pikes. Narnar Sentinels have now moved forward. And, you know, maybe I spoke too soon. Cardinal is swiftly being overwhelmed. Got my Alcarones Legion charging into the rear of the Dunite captains, who are actually taking crossbow fire from up on the hill. The Greenway Garrison Spearmen plus the Dunite captains are really going to struggle against this nasty combination of troops. Alcarones Legion getting a beautiful charge in here, and the fear and the exhaustion is going to take its toll, and the Greenway Garrison Spearmen are going to start to rout off the field. That being said, Cardinal's not done yet. Dunite Rangers are in a great position to inflict some heavy casualties with enfilading fire and those body-piercing arrows. However, they have been caught out by Elven King's Palace Guard. There's 19 of them. They might have trouble hacking their way through all 60 of them, but they will certainly try. Let's see here. They're doing well. That being said, Rangers are no slouches in .97 in close quarters, especially against other infantry. They are lightly armored generally, but they have good melee defense and good attack as well, which does help balance out some of the nerfs that they got in .97 to their accuracy, but actually to their damage. And I believe as well the amount of ammunition that they have. Oh, pardon me. Palace Guard now have run into the brick wall that is the Wardens of Tyr and Gorthad. I'm going to move in with some Alcarondas Legion and help support them. But I've broken through the Cardolan defenses on the other side, and now I've managed to get in here with my crossbow Corsairs. And we're going to be able to just fire off some point-blank volleys into the Dunedain Rangers, who are not able to get themselves to a firing position quick enough for Sin of the Dark Lord's Cavalry, which is already on top of them. Oh. Might get one shot here. Ooh, some rear shots into the Minotaur Roman Guardians. Not going to go well for them, and they are actually going to start to rout there. Poor Cardolan. My Spearmen are going to catch the Dunedain Rangers before they're able to pop off a volley, and they are going to rout shortly thereafter as well. Cardolan has actually lost their general at this point, and their morale is simply falling apart. The Wardens of Tyr and Gorthad doing their best, holding back this tide, but this is temporary. They won't be able to do this for very long, especially not with units in behind them, and this is going to spell the end of the red team, and it's not going to be the closest of battles. 97% to 83 so far, and a lot of that comes down to how I was able to contain Cardolan. If Cardolan was fighting with their allies the entire time, I mean, who knows what could have happened. They had some really nasty units, and we only really managed to deal with them effectively by catching them in unawares, or by shutting them down and catching them out of formation. Rear charge here by the Mithrandir's retinue bodyguard is going to break the Wardens of Tyr and Gorthad, and it's just going to be a matter of time before the rest of that unit is exterminated. And that's going to be the end of the replay. It was a fun game. I didn't really get too many kills, and a lot of them were like lower tier kills, so in terms of like raw damage, I was probably one of the least useful people on my team. But my big contribution to this fight was just keeping Cardolan out of the battle and lending a little bit of support to the Gondorian push against Harad. So it was an interesting battle. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's take a look at my casualties and such here. And the things that really did work for me were my crossbow Corsairs. They were my MVPs. Corsair Blackguards did very, very well. I've heard some complaints. I've heard a lot of complaints, who am I kidding, about the Prec trait, but I was able to use them very well, and they did exactly what I wanted to in this particular battle. And they got a ton of kills, so that's always nice. And there was a lot of those weren't like slouch kills either. Those were like mainline Cardolan units. What's the Rudara League called? The Witch Realm Enslavers. Things like that. A lot of Rudara units got cut down by them. Alcarondas Legion, there's a lot of units that also didn't get any kills because they weren't used until the very last moment. Norino's Sentinels getting 4, Belliger Pikemen getting 9, one of my Alcarondas Legion doing 0 damage at all. Kind of funny. It's not usually the case with Alcarondas Legion that you commit them almost not at all. But yeah, it's a great game to my opponents here. There were some coordination issues, I think, that really led to their downfall. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. And this is, again, is a battle that I took from my stream. So if you want to see more stream battles, take a look in the description. My Twitch is going to be there along with all the battles that I've done so far. There is like a timer, I think, of like 4 days on them before they disappear. So you might not get every single stream battle that I've done. But I highly recommend it, and it's, of course, open to everybody. So if you want to come and join me the next time that I'm able to stream, that would be awesome. I'd be happy to play with you and to hopefully maybe teach you some things, or maybe even learn some things from you. So in any case, my name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.